Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Let's do a quick round of introduction, and then let me get started with the agenda, and then we'll take it forward. So I'm Aishwarya Sivakumar from Whisper Social Good, Regional APAC leader. And Ida, would you like to go next? You're on mute.
Sorry, so many tests, and then in the live moment, I forget. My name is Aida Braniet, and I am the Director of Community Engagement. And it's a pleasure to have you all here. If you have any questions, I am available. I will be monitoring the chat. So welcome.
Thank you, Ida. Today's agenda would be we'll be doing a quick introduction about the volunteers who have got selected, who are going to present this, and then from the India Water Portal team as well. And then we'll be giving 5 to 6 minutes of time to each presenters, and feedbacks would be shared, questions would be shared with them after each presentation. And then finally, India Water Portal team would be finalizing the winner, and then we'll be wrapping up this event. So any questions? Okay. So Shri, would you like to introduce yourself and about India Water Portal as well for the volunteers who are with us?
Sure. Hi, folks. My name is Srichand. I'm part of the India Water Portal team. I, along with Abhishek, help run India Water Portal. We work from Argyam. It's a philanthropy that works on groundwater issues in rural India. And as part of that, we also run India Water Portal.
Volunteers, would you like to go one by one and introduce yourself and your team, please? Let's start with Francisco Milano.
Hi everyone. Good morning. My name is Francesca. I am Italian, but I am based in Frankfurt, Germany. I'm a mathematician from studies, but for the last 3.5 years, I've been working in the field of data analysis and data visualization. And so, yes, it's the first time I participate to one of these as a volunteer to one of your projects. So it's it's very nice to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Francesca. Bharat, do you want to go next?
Sure. Thanks, Aishwarya. I'm Bharat. I'm from Karnataka, India. I work as a consultant for EXL services from past 2 years. I mainly deal with TV media analytics, subscription analytics to an extent. And this is the first time I'm working outside of my work environment with Tableau, and this is my first Whisper Social Good project. So it feels good to be here as one of the presenters. Thank you for that. And sorry about my camera angle. It's kind of weird, I know.
No, it's perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Spencer?
Yeah,
Spencer
speaking. So Spencer, I'm from Singapore. So I work at JLL doing people analytics. So I'm really thankful to be selected and super excited to be here. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Then Michael and team, I think Jessica, Tina, Christine.
Yep. Hi,
like
I can introduce us. Michael's going to be doing the presenting, but we all work at Logistic Management Institute doing a wide range of consultant stuff, but we're all part of the data visualization club, basically at our work. And this is our first time participating in Data Viz for Social Good. We thought it would be a good way to kind of bring together different levels of experience with data visualization and kind of help some people learn and help some people practice. And so it's been a really great experience. And we're really excited to have been invited to present. So
Awesome. Thank you. And Christine, Mike, I think you all belong to the same team, right? Would you like to go for a quick intro?
Yes, that's right. We all are on the same team. We all collaborated on this one. So I think Jessica covered it, but I just for reference, I'm from Virginia, United States this morning. I know a lot of people were saying where they're logging on from. It's cool to see such an international crowd, and it's really exciting to be working with everyone.
Thank you. Christine?
Hi, Christine Hoffman. I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm a teammate with the Jessica just mentioned. Thank you.
Okay. Tina?
Hi, I'm also joining from Huntsville, Alabama. And again, like Jessica iterated, it's a great pleasure to be working with everyone today.
Okay, thank you. Tanho and I'm not sure if I pronounce you guys wrong. It's Tanho and Tahu. Not sure. Would you like to introduce?
Sure. So I'm Tan. I work with the Data School Down Under in Melbourne, in Australia. This is the first time we've participated and submitted a visualization for the Viz for Social Good, and we're really excited to be here. And I'm a co-author with my other co-author Tao Tran, who is also from Data School Down Under in Melbourne. But I'll let her introduce herself a bit more as well. So really excited to be here.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, so my name is Tao Tran and I'm a data analyst at Data School Down Under in Melbourne in Australia. So it's really nice to meet you all today. Thanks Viz for Social Good to organize this event, and it's exciting to see everyone here for such a good cause.
Thank you so much. I think let's get started. So let me just quickly share my screen. Let's go through the agenda, the one that I have already mentioned, just to be on track. Sorry. Okay, so this would be the agenda. I mean, for the people who are new to this live event, a quick introduction about Viz for Social Good from our end. I missed to do that in the beginning. So Viz for Social Good is is a non-profit organization which is helping non-profit organizations to come up with their data, and we help them in bringing out an impactful data visualizations for them. Basically, we harness the power of data visualization for a social cause. So now that we have already done an introduction about India Water Portal team, and volunteers have already introduced themselves, let's get started with a presentation. As I've already mentioned, each and every volunteer would be from any one of in no particular order. We can get started, and then they will be provided with 5 to 6 minutes to present, and then followed by question and answer session from the India Water Portal team, and their feedback would be provided, and they will be announcing the winner for today's India Water Portal project. And then Ida would be giving quick, if we have time, would give a quick update on how this Viz for Social Good Champion Tracker works and how can they download their certificates, and then we do a wrap. That's it. So who wants to go first? Francesca, would you like to start? Sure,
I can go first.
Thank you.
So I will share my screen. Hope you can hear me fine.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so this is the so my visualization for the project, and I have worked on a static infographics And actually, I have worked on 2 versions of it. One is this one that you can see now on my screen. It's like more of a horizontal version, infographic format style. And the other version is more scrollable for like a website or a mobile view. The tools that I've used to produce this viz were Google Sheets and Python for data preparation. And then I have used Tableau and row graphs for producing the charts, and finally Procreate to compose everything and write the text and work on the style. So yes, so the visualization is divided in 2 parts, maybe. On the, I am zooming a bit so you can maybe read better. On the left-hand side, we have sort of an overview and an introduction of the data which was provided. First of all, a very simple chart, bar chart with a worldwide view of the top groundwater extracting countries, and where we can already see that India is outstanding in terms of quantity of water extracted. And then we have a collection of other simple charts with a focus on the India data. So the first one shows the time evolution of the per capita water availability. Together with, so where we see that it's dropping a lot in the last years. And an overview of the water use by sector. So where we see that agriculture is a sector that takes the most use of water. And finally, we see in this chart that the share of groundwater versus surface water, which is consumed in agriculture. And we see, yes, the difference that has occurred in the last decades. There has been a huge increase in this sense. So groundwater is now used a lot more than surface water, and this is the cause for over exploitation in some areas. And this brings us to the part on the right hand side. So on the right hand side, we have this more complex view of the state of information at state level. The information that is visible in this chart is, first of all, the level of exploitment, some information on the water contamination, and also on each state surface. So as concerns the level of exploitation of every state, this is visible based on the color of every circle. So every circle represents a state, and I have associated to every label safe, semi-critical, critical, and overexploited. And safe would be a 0, and overexploited would be a 9. And I have assigned to every state a number based on the average of the label assigned to all of their districts. So based on this average, it's visualized the different color for every state. Then the dimension of the circle would be proportional to the state surface. So of course, bigger countries have a bigger circle, not countries, sorry, but states. And finally, we have information on the water contamination. So we have these special symbols here. This pink symbol for fluoride, and this yellow symbol for arsenic. And the dimension of these symbols is proportional to the sum of the districts affected by either contamination of fluoride or contamination by arsenic in every state. So yes, this is more or less it. We have some special symbols for the countries that are either that have the highest, let's say, numbers. So, for example, we have this triangular symbol for the country which has highest average level of overexploitation, which is Punjab. I'm very sorry for pronouncing wrongly. And here we also see with these special symbols, yes, the state which have the maximum number of districts contaminated by fluoride, which is Rajasthan. Again, sorry. And yes, the state which has the most number of districts contaminated by arsenic is marked with this yellow symbol, which in this case is Bihar. Yes, I think this concludes my presentation. In case you have questions, let me know.
Hey, thank you, Francesca. I think it's such a beautiful and informative visualization. Over to Shri and team, if you have any questions or if you have any feedback on this presentation, please go ahead.
They are asking in the chat, how did you come up with the symbols for fluoride and arsenic?
Just freehand drawing. There's no specific meaning to them. I just chose the colors because I thought they would outstand from this blue background, let's say, but yes, there is no specific meaning to the symbols itself.
I think you draw really well.
Yeah,
Sorry?
This is Abhishek from Argyam. This is fantastic, actually. I quite like the visualizations. How did you choose the font? What font is this? It's
me drawing. So it's my hand draw font.
all handwritten.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
It's
amazing.
handwritten on Procreate.
Okay, it's quite good.
Thank you.
Great. The first thing, hi, this is Srichan from India Water Portal. The first thing that caught my attention is how the flipped bar chart is also giving a sense of how deep India goes to extract water. So that's like a second order signal that's coming from this, even though we're just talking about how much groundwater we're extracting, right? So for me, that really stood out. What for me, the other thing that I liked is the representation in terms of charts and its legends. So both of these stood out for me. This is definitely something I'd like to see in some form contributed onto portal. I'll find a way where we can talk about this at the end of it to everyone who wants to contribute. But great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for noticing this. It actually was intentional to display. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Francesca. So, Spencer, Chu, would you like to go next?
Sure. Right. So I think one of the important points was that I think, was it Abhishek or Srichan said that mobile would be critical, as I think many in India, there's a lot of mobile users. So the design principles are all trying to fit visualization in a mobile format so that it's easily viewed on the phone, right? So I kept things very simple. So the critical point is India is extremely reliant on groundwater, and we see that relative to the other countries, it ranks first. And it's also huge when we talk about water usage in agriculture sector, and it's 83%. And over time, we see that number increasing over the years. And as a result of this over-reliance and obviously climate change, the amount of water that's available per capita has decreased around 71%. And I just here is just me trying to highlight certain states where there might be unsafe groundwater conditions due to that over-reliance as well. So here I just highlighted 8 states. Yeah, so the last page is just a call to action to sort of point the reader into how they can help with India Water Portal. And the way I designed it is try to keep the main points at the top and the graphs or bar charts at the bottom, so that so the reader understands the main points and then look at the data. So yeah, so I kept it pretty simple. Actually, I was pretty shocked that I got selected. So thanks. That's the end of our presentation.
Okay, thank you, Spencer. Shri, over to you.
So one of the things that I quite liked in this is, so most visualization mapping softwares that volunteers have used are quite problematic when it comes to displaying them in India, because it's illegal to display Indian map that is not the official boundaries of India. So most maps that other volunteers have used have parts of Kashmir, parts of other parts of India that have been cut out. So most mapping companies, how they work is based on where you are. They'll display a map so that it is legal to display the map according to that country. I like how Spencer has done away with this by actually just showing circles with information to still capture the same points without actually showing the map. That I thought was brilliant. And the fact that effort's been put into making it a mobile one, that's amazing. I quite liked it.
Thank you, Shri.
Thanks for the feedback.
Abhishek, do you have anything to say, or?
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, first of all, it's simple, yes, but it has a certain ease to it. Yeah, I mean, it's quite easy on like in terms of readability and yeah, I mean, it's not easy to design for mobile, and that's the reason I liked it. I was just saying that yes, Srichand, I mean, when I was looking at all the visualizations, I also sort of noticed that the map is sort of, it could become a political issue, and our
Right.
site is sort of accessed by many people in the government as well. So
Right.
yeah, that we did have that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
one
you.
one other
Yes,
thing
sir.
I wanted to add was, Spencer, so for the charts in the initial ones, I think the second and the third, ideally I'd like to see them as a timed one. This one, because right now I see 1996 agriculture, and then I have to go to domestic 1996. If these have been grouped just on agriculture, domestic industries, and others, I see the degradation of resources a little more better than what it currently is.
Sure.
Yeah,
Got it.
but that's just a think modification. Yeah.
There is one question from the chat. Why were the requirements for the map boundaries not included in the brief?
So it's interesting because I've only noticed that once submissions have come, that most I think except Mapbox, most other visualization ones did not get India's map right. So it is not an issue in terms of getting that. It's not a thing about disqualification, but it's just that if we had to showcase that on our site, we'd have to now work with that volunteer to ensure that the mapping tool they've used has the current boundaries. That came as an afterthought and not as a requirement, because most tools, if you use in India, most companies, it's mandated for them to use official boundaries that are there. So I apologize for not making it a requirement in the beginning. It came as an afterthought.
Okay. Thank you, Shri, for that. So, Swati, sorry I missed out. Just noticed that you have also joined. Hi,
Yeah, hi, Ashwarya.
I hope you're doing good. Do you have any feedback for the last two
Yeah,
presentations?
I really liked both of them. For Spencer, I would say that the visualizations are very, they stand out. Like whatever message he has to tell, it is there, it is right there. So it is like kind of, it just, captures the eye of the audience, whatever he wants to tell. So that's why I really liked his thing. And yeah, and for the previous one, for Francesca, so for her, her font, like Abhishek mentioned, that her font was really nice. It was the font that I really liked, and the information that that was provided. So it was a wholesome of information. So yeah.
Thank you, Swati. Sorry I missed you in the beginning. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Just,
Yeah.
realized. Okay. Okay. Bharat, would you like to go next?
Sure, Aishwarya. Thanks. Give me a minute. Let me share my screen. Okay. I hope you're able to see my screen and I'm audible.
Yes. Please go on.
Awesome. Sorry, one second. Okay. So this is my report and my submission for this project, India's water crisis. The report is mainly divided into three sections. One is at a macro level, what's the worrying situation in India related to water crisis, right? It's about the per capita availability and even the water quality. Then I dig a little deep into the groundwater status at different states, what might be causing that issue and which are safe, etc. And then some of the causes for the depleting groundwater status in India. That could be because of the number of schemes by structure or the increase in the groundwater usage in India. So I'll start with the macro trend, which we're seeing. I think one major issue is the growing population of India. And because of that, we're seeing a decline in per capita availability every decade. The rate at which it's declining is alarming. And again, as population increases, it's expected to decrease, but the rate is, that's worrying. And I did a little research. The countries which has less than 1,700 cubic meter per capita per year is considered water stressed. I think India is also among them from 2011. So I just thought it would be good to mention that information here. And I also wanted it to be a little more informative and insightful so that people who are very new to this or who really doesn't know about the terminologies would get to know what it actually means. To be honest, even being in India, I didn't know much about these water issues because I think at a global scale, we're all focused on population control, then green energy and all these things. I think somewhere around there, water crisis get missed. So this was really informative and for me. So I just thought it would be good to put it out there. Now coming to the, okay, we know that the water availability has been decreasing, but even the water quality is not so good. In nearly 184 districts, it's fluoride affected. And if you take Rajasthan, for example, almost all the districts are affected. I think there are around 32, 33. So most of them are affected by fluorine. Arsenic, I think it's much more worrying, but it's luckily we just have 26 districts out of the 640 and Bihar being the highest. This is worrying mainly because 90% of rural population is dependent on groundwater for drinking and not the surface water resource or the river resources. So this is a worrying issue, especially for the rural population, and we don't hear much about in the urban population side. So this is something which is alarming, and I think which is neglected up to my knowledge. Coming to the groundwater development status, again, I think there are few insights we can draw out of it. I've mapped it. I've created a grid for each of the states, and just a quick intro now to read it. The 4 quadrants will show
Bharat, we couldn't hear you.
hello.
Yes, can hear you now.
Sorry. Sorry for that. I was just cut off for a minute.
No.
Okay. Okay, I'll start with this chart. So just an info on how to read this chart. The 4 quadrants is basically 4 statuses: overexploited, critical, semi-critical, and safe. I think if you can see, like Punjab, Haryana, all these states have high percentage of overexploited groundwater status. This is mainly because they heavily use water for irrigation, and they grow crops like paddy, which needs a lot of water, right? And the only resource they have is the groundwater. So that's why I think it's much more when compared to other states. And just one thing I found out while doing research for this is Andhra Pradesh, even though it has like the 7% of our exploited wells, what the government has done is they've banned digging up bore wells or tube wells in those districts or in those assessment areas. That's again, as far as I know from the news. So those are the few things which I wanted to mention. And the Rajasthan, it's expected because it's a landlocked desert. So because of that, it's expected they use more groundwater, and so it's overexploited. But again, if we have more schemes where they can use the surface water, especially during rainy season, I think they can bring down that level of critical wells. And the Northeast region, which receives the highest rainfall in India, are all safe. It's 100% safe. And I think there are other issues. So for example, just a surprising fact, the world's highest receiving village is in Meghalaya. And what happens is after the rainy season, there is actually water shortage, mainly because the soil would have lost that ability to hold water. So they have to rely more on the surface water reservoirs and things like that. So they don't really rely on the groundwater for the 2 reasons. One is the soil erosion, the other is because of the highest rainfall. So those were all about the states, assessment areas, and districts. Coming to the causes for the depleting groundwater status, I think as we can see, the growing gap between the surface water usage and the groundwater usage. And this is a line chart for the number of schemes. And a quick legend here, I think from previous decade onwards, the deep tube wells have increased. That means they're digging a lot more to reach the groundwater, whereas your surface water schemes are constant or decreasing. I think this is the way forward in order to control the groundwater depletion. That's all about my ways. Any questions, feedback? Happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Bharat. That was really wonderful to see a lot of information and still such a neat data visualization that you have presented. Over to India Water Portal team.
Thanks, Aishwarya.
Abhishek, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Bharat. This is again quite amazing. Like I said, my favorite part was your visualization of the different states. I think it's spectacular. Immediately sort of catches my eye and gives me a good understanding across the country, and also I quite like the research that you've done. In addition to what was actually asked. So one and again, I mean, it's again very simple and yet very powerful. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhishek.
I quite like the fact that you've done additional research that's gone into this. You're right in terms of Northeast having water, but still not being able to rely on it because even though they have the highest rainfalls. One of the things that I agree with Abhishek that I liked is how you visualized the exploited to safe to semi-critical information for each state. What I would have liked is to be able to sort these based on just critical or semi-critical or overexploited. So if I were to just click on overexploited, the visualization that currently is, if I be able to sort them based on just overexploited and then critical, that would have been great. Right now, I'm not sure what's the if I can change the visualization. Right now, what I understand is only overexploited is the descending overexploited states is how you visualize it,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I just kept it one way to make it more simple. But I mean, we can work offline. It's just one functionality.
Sure.
I can add that. I think that's useful.
Yeah, just an additional information for this is usually when there are poverty elevation programs or water stress programs or livelihood programs that are done, most governments or most departments look at the highest vulnerable ones, which are overexploited or below poverty line or anything in similar degree. One of the things that institutions miss in this way is to look at folks who've not yet hit that, but if you can do measures to fix that, the impact is higher. And that's why it kind of makes sense to do critical and semi-critical as well, because the effort to impact ratio would be higher than what the states need to do for overexploited.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense.
Thanks, Bharat.
Thanks, Ishan. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bharat. Swati, do you have anything, or can we go to the next?
Yeah, hi, Bharat. Yeah, so it is, as everybody has already mentioned, that it is very clean and neat presentation, visualization. The only thing that I have is like the quadrants that you've mentioned. So if the information which is just a symbol, if it would have been like a legend or something, with it more prominence on how to read it. So that would have been easier for the person who's visualizing, but otherwise it's a wonderful presentation, and the extra research that you've done, the extra effort that you've put in, so they are commendable.
Thanks, Swati. Yeah, I agree that it's not an easy chart to read upfront, but I can add that I've added it in a tooltip of sorts in an information icon, but I think it's useful to have it up front.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks for the feedback. Thanks, all.
Thank you, Bharat. Mike and team, would you like to go next?
Hey, yeah, sure thing. I think we're ready to go. Jessica's gonna go ahead and share her screen and I'll present over it. So we worked in Tableau pretty much entirely in Tableau to put this together collaboratively. As we mentioned earlier, it was myself, Jessica Conroy, Christine Hoffman, and Tina Maddox, and they're all on the call as well. So guys, feel free to jump in if you have anything to add as I go through. As you can see from our kind of splash page, we were interested in laying out kind of the narrative all at once and then breaking out the story into different components, but we wanted this visualization to feel more like a story, similar to what Spencer did. So you can see we have kind of the mission and the call to action here, and then a table of contents to walk through some of the key points that we wanted to highlight. So if we go to the first page about water availability, you can see here we wanted to set the stage and make it clear that essentially water availability is decreasing in India, and that's the major driving force of the problems with water that the nation is experiencing. So if you look at our chart on the top right, you can see a time series graph of per capita water availability going back to 1950. And just by the slope of the graph, it's pretty apparent that there's been a stark decrease in water availability. Since 1950, I think the drop was from about 5,000 cubic meters per person down to about 1,000 today. And even in the last 30 years, there's been a 30% decrease. And on the bottommost chart, we have a graph detailing essentially median annual rainfall over time. And there's been a slight decrease in rainfall. It's trending slightly downward. But one of the interesting things to notice as well is that there seems to be a lot more variation in rainfall. If you kind of look at the left half of that graph and then look at the right half of that graph. And we wanted to dive into that a little bit, but just I guess one last point to highlight is the decreased availability of water, the more sporadic rainfall, it's creating more demand for water, but also is forcing traditional freshwater, surface water sources to be less reliable because you don't know whether it's going to rain as much that year as in previous years. And people are essentially forced to seek out alternative solutions. But we did want to dive more into the variation in rainfall a little bit. So in this chart, thanks, Jessica, you can, yes, okay, awesome, thank you. So we put together an animation here that details essentially the deviation from the average monsoon rainfall experienced by I think this is by state or by district across India. So as you watch the animation, you kind of get a sense for how this variation is playing out, not just in India as a whole, but across the nation, across districts. And again, this data is going back from, I think, 1950 to the present day. So we talked a little bit about the decreasing per capita water availability, the more sporadic rainfall. One of the solutions that people have kind of begun to implement is to rely more on groundwater for their water. And so on the left side of this visual, you can see we have some comparative countries to India based on population size, also neighboring countries laid out in order by their groundwater extracted in cubic kilometers per year. And the gradient or the opacity of the color indicates essentially how much groundwater is being extracted. And you can see India is far darker and also at top, but far darker than any of its either population-based neighbors or geographic neighbors. And so as we kind of zoom into India's shift to groundwater reliance, you can see that actually since 1960 compared to 2010, there was pretty much a perfect flip in terms of India's reliance on surface water compared to groundwater. So we've seen this steady shift to groundwater reliance. And then one of the things that kind of plays into relying more on groundwater is the increased risk of groundwater relative to surface water. So you can see on the left side of the screen, we have two maps, and I know we talked a little bit about maps, and there have been some others in this, and we'd be happy to kind of rework those as necessary. But it looks like in terms of arsenic and fluoride contamination, the northeast of India appears to be a little more or much more at risk than the rest of the nation. I think it would be interesting to do further analysis and tie this into the chart at the bottom right that we have here that details shallow and medium tube wells and deep tube wells, and look at the distribution of these different types of tube wells. And we know deep tube wells, which have been increasing over the past 20 years, tend to have more contamination risk associated with them. So perhaps these regions in the northeast of India are relying more on deep tube wells. It would be interesting to dive more into that. But we did want to illustrate the kind of boom in building out shallow and medium tube wells around the late 1990s and how that steadied out, and then kind of the subsequent shift to deep tube wells and the risk associated with those. And then at the top, on the top right, you can see we just laid out a couple of distributions of how water is used in India in 1996, 2011, and 2018. And out of each of those years, agricultural use is by far the most prevalent. It doesn't really appear to be decreasing. It's essentially primarily agricultural, and then a small portion of the water is available for domestic use. And I think it's been about 5 or 6 minutes, but we did want to also highlight that we developed a mobile view for this as well, so it should be compatible with mobile devices. And again, this was all done in Tableau. Thanks, Jessica. So you can see all of the slides that we just walked through can pretty seamlessly be scrolled through and then navigated from one to the next on a mobile device.
Okay, this is awesome. So do you have anything else to add, Mike?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for presenting, Jessica. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, team. I think it's a Tableau desktop and a mobile version. It looks really awesome. I can see how difficult it is to put all these together as a mobile version, the thing. So wonderful job, guys. Great work. So over to Sri, Abhishek, and Swati now.
Swati, do you want to go first?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, so again, I really like that you've used the same color scheme of India Water Portal. So that's very nice. And again, it is also this presentation is also every information just stands out. Like so the anyone visualizing it will see the information that you want them to see. So that's really nice. Like the navigation bit is good. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Swati. Folks, so I have two things. One is we've picked this because the amount of detail we were able to get from the visualizations, it clearly showed the effort you folks have put in. So commendable work. For me, the feedback was one is on the chart where you visualized countries and then India's groundwater to surface water. I'd have liked it if India was at the bottom, because the darkest color or the topmost is not really giving a sense of this is not a good indicator of ranking on the top of extraction is not a great sign. So if visually, if there's some way to convey that would have been great. That's one. And I like the time series chart. We have to figure out now that we've seen this, we'll have to figure out what's the best way we can portray this and build a narrative around it based on the data we have, but that's great. The third point is, so the deep well tubes chart you've had, there was a blurb on deep well tubes and deeper wells have lower chance of getting toxins. Is that from our data? I'm wondering where that's come from.
Sorry, that was from research that I did in addition to. I can find the source.
Yes,
but
please.
I was
Please share that.
Yep.
Yeah. So a general indicator for us in terms of fluoride and arsenic, fluoride and arsenic contaminated regions. One of the things that's happening is shallow aquifers are no longer accessible. So villagers are doing deeper. They're doing deeper digging. They're doing deeper tube wells, and that is they're extracting water that's older, decades and centuries older, and along with that they're getting these impurities. But I'll have to look at my own data to figure out whether these are anecdotal data or does it also reflect what the scenario is, and compare it to whether it's across the world or is it just in India where deeper tube wells are actually causing more harm than good. So if there is, please cite that so that I can reference it against the data we have as well.
Yep, I'll pull up the research papers.
Thank you.
And thank you for the other feedback as well. We'd be happy to work together to implement any of those changes or make adjustments as necessary. So thanks.
Thanks, folks. Great.
Abhishek, do you have any?
No, nothing to add. Just had the same question on the contamination data, but overall, I think it's quite amazing. Thanks,
Okay.
Mike.
Thank you. Over to Sanho and team.
Thank you. I'll just bring up my screen. Okay. So hello, and thank you all for the opportunity in supporting a really great cause here. First, I'll present the dashboard that we've designed together, and then I'll pass you over to my co-author who's going to walk you through the dashboard design process. So we've gone through and looked at some data, and we find that more than 200,000 people die in India each year due to lack of access to safe drinking water. India's water per capita has decreased by more than 70% over the past 70 years since 1951. In 1951, India had approximately 37 years worth of water readily available. And today that number has decreased to simply 10 years worth of readily available water. On the right, we've just got a bit of a data to indicate that 75% of households do not have drinking water on premise, and 84% of rural households do not have any piped water access. And it is estimated that in less than 10 years, 40% of India's population will not have access to any safe drinking water. So here we can see that the most water consuming activity is the occupation of agriculture. 83% of India's total water consumption is attributed to the agriculture industry. And the reason this is alarming is because decreasing water supply leads to water scarcity. In turn, that leads to or renders much farmland in India useless. And then that further in turn threatens India's food security issues. So I've told you sort of about India having 10 years worth of water left, and agriculture consumes much of India's water. But what you haven't been told, or maybe not know yet, is that a lot of this water is actually contaminated by chemicals such as fluoride and arsenic. 44.4% of all tested groundwater extraction locations showed signs of arsenic or fluoride contamination, and in some cases both. Water quality tests in regions like Tapajura revealed more than 15 parts per million of fluoride, which is 10 times more than the WHO recommended upper limit of 1.5 parts per million in drinking water. And furthermore, this widespread contamination also means that a lot of the crops that are grown in India are now contaminated with these chemicals, crops like cauliflower. So India has a smaller population than China and yet extracts more groundwater than China and the United States combined. This is due to a variety of factors, including a common belief that well water is better than rainwater because it tastes better. Many people are concerned about the quality of rainwater collected, concerned that it is contaminated by animal droppings like birds or rats, and of the diseases that rats could potentially pass on. So the final thing that we're going to look at for the dashboard is that less than 5.5% of all water schemes in India are surface water schemes. During the 20 years between 1994 and 2014, groundwater schemes have increased by more than 10 million, while surface water schemes have only increased by 420,000. So what this means is that for every surface water collection scheme that's been erected, there were more than 20 groundwater collection schemes to that one surface water scheme. So India's water situation is that India needs an estimated 3,000 cubic kilometers of water each year, and it receives approximately 4,000 cubic kilometers of rainwater annually, which is more than the country needs if only the people were willing to harvest it. So according to Prime Minister Modi in an article, only 8% of all rainwater is harvested. Further, the lack of wastewater treatment in India results in approximately 80% of domestic wastewater flowing into ponds, lakes, and rivers, and ultimately out to the sea. And this causes the bodies of water to be unusable. 40% of water used for agriculture irrigation is lost from evaporation and runoff. And as we saw in the second chart there, more than 80% of India's water usage is attributed to the agriculture industry, which means that this is a critical wastage of water. So if the current trend continues, it is predicted that by 2030, India will only have half of the water currently available for human consumption, and a further 10 years beyond that, about 60% of all of India's aquifers will be in critical condition. So I'll call on everyone who's listening here, because as we speak today, more people die in India from lack of access to safe drinking water than the entire world does from poisoning. So visit the India Water Portal and share to anyone who you know. So what I'll do now is I'm going to pass it over through to my co-author, Tao, and she's going to go through our design process for the dashboard.
All right, thanks for that. And just let me share my screen. Okay. All right. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Hi everyone. So my name is Cloud, and I will walk you through our thinking process when we designed this dashboard and why we did what we did. There are 3 points that I will talk about: goal of the project, goal of the data viz, and the visual design aspect of it. So when we are notified the project, the first thing we did was to identify the goal of the project, which is to create the mass awareness on the seriousness of water issue in India and to bring policy attention to emerging trends on water. With a clear goal of project in mind, we started to work on the goal of LVs. So when we started the project, we had spent a lot of time reading and researching to understand the current situation of water scarcity in India through a collection of data, articles, even video. And they make us quite emotional and sad, thinking that we have such large luxury here and there are people over there struggling for their lives. So we thought that for people to be aware of the scale and seriousness of this issue, it's important that our dashboard is able to explain the current situation and help our audience to understand easily. So our motivation for this video is to create something beautiful, to get the audience to read, to help them understand the current situation, and to ask the audience to act, to share, and to contribute to India Water Portal. So we do prioritize our goal though. So the biggest circle is the first priority, which is understanding, followed by implications, and the last one is attention and beauty. The goal of LVs has led us to structure our order of contents at effect, cause, and call to actions. So we aim to emphasize the current alarming situation in India by presenting the information and data about its effect first. People are dying, people are struggling. We want the audience to have an understanding about how serious the issue is as soon as they reach the dashboard. The images of affected people by drinking contaminated waters are added in to cater for this purpose. So after telling the audience about the effect, we hope that they will be curious about the reason why this issue is happening. And so we move on to explain the reason behind this situation. We had used the water pump charge as a visual cue for groundwater extraction to aid in the purpose of helping the audience to understand the terminology a little bit better. From here, we move on to call for actions of sharing and contribute to India Water Bottle by including the click here button, which directs to the India Water Portal website. So after having our content, a plan of content in mind, we discuss on and agree on this visual design aspect. So firstly, for the choice of color, we choose to use the India Water Bottle logo theme color to create brand awareness and connection to the bottle. However, we do not want to use just blue as our only main theme color because according to color psychology, blue has a very calming effect, but we want to emphasize the seriousness of this issue. We want our audience to feel this seriousness, and we incorporated dark yellow and brown into our dashboard. We aim to design our dashboard simple and straightforward with most common tasks to make it easy to consume by our audience. We want our dashboard to reach as much people as it could. Our data community is great in supporting this cause. However, we need more and more people to be aware of this situation, including people who are not very data literate, who are most likely unable to read complex charts. Hence, our dashboard is designed with simplicity and easy to understand in mind. We hope that the dashboard could reach as much people as it can and will make a difference. Yeah, so it has brought it to the end of our presentations. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you so much, team. I think it is, such a beautiful, this fabulous work, a great storytelling, as everyone has mentioned. So Shri and Swati, would you like to go for the questions?
My feedback is I like the narrative that's built around it. So I think visualizations and charts are one peg, whereas the rest of it in terms of the narrative that's been built around this communication material, hats off for that. I quite liked it. And the visualization of groundwater extraction with a pump, that's phenomenal. It clearly shows how much groundwater is left in India when that visualization has been done. I don't really have any feedback on this besides this. Quite like it. Thank you.
Swati?
Swati?
Yeah, same here. I also liked the visualization. So yeah, and the use of images is also very nice. So yeah, all over a nice visualization.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think everyone have presented their work, right? Yeah. So Shri and Swati, I think it's your turn to announce the winners. You have seen all their visualizations before we move to India Water Portal team to announce the winners. Thank you so much, volunteers. It's great presentation and wonderful job. Not just the top 5 volunteers. I think whoever has submitted, you have put in your time and effort for this. Thank you so much from Whisper Social Good team. Over to India Water Portal to announce the winners.
Just give us a second. We just
Changing their minds, it's difficult, right?
Yeah.
This was not what we signed up for. We didn't know we had to pick a winner. These are amazing contributions. So we're all discussing how we should pick one. Just give us another minute.
I think we can all give a round of applause before we get the winners in our hands. Hey, thank you so much, guys. Wonderful job, wonderful.
It's always really nice to see the variety of the visualizations, like really all kinds of things, all kinds of visual vocabularies, mobile, desktop. It's really an amazing job. And I see all the research you have done behind. I'm very impressed. Well done, really.
Yeah, and I can empathize with Sri. It's very tough to identify one winner from this these many wonderful visualizations.
All right. So we've between Abhishek, me, and Swati, we've talked and we've shared this. So this is not a signal in terms of whose contributions we will showcase on our site. We will email you folks and find ways where we can get not just the winner or the ones that are presented, but bits and pieces of different visualizations that we've gotten as contributions over the last few days. Having said that, considering we have to, we'd like to congratulate Francesca. Her visualization has been something that stuck with us when she submitted it and all through today's presentation. And we'll communicate with each of you to see how we can visualize your work on our site.
Awesome. Congratulations, Francesca. And congratulations others as well. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to contribute in a very interesting project. So thanks to you.
Thank you. So before we wrap up, I think Ida, would you like to go for the a quick heads up on the gamification part? That would be really helpful.
Sorry, Aishwarya, one quick announcement I want to make. So over the next few days, over the next week, I'll drop an email to the volunteers, and I'll start conversations on modifying these visualizations if the volunteers have bandwidth to do so that we can showcase these in some form in our newsletters on our website, which an updated one will go live later, end of this month or early November. So we'll showcase your work, and hopefully, if this is something that you're okay with, we'd be very happy to showcase.
Sure, Shri. I think Ida, that shouldn't be an issue, right? It is.
That's fantastic. Yes, of course, it's always good. And also, we typically do that if the volunteers are available and you want to do some small modifications to make it more suitable for your publications. That's also possible, of course, yes.
Great.
Okay. Ida, would you like to talk on the gamification? Yeah. Please.
So thank you, everyone. Congratulations, Francesca. I love this. For the ones that are new, at Vis for Social Good, we have a gamification for submissions. Of course, it's always an opt-in. If you want to keep participating and don't participate in the gamification, it's also possible. When you fill in the submissions form, you can click on I don't want to participate in the gamifications. But if you want to, I'm going to share my screen and maybe show you the dashboard. Give me a second. The idea is that we collect points for different things. I am the only one that didn't test, of course, the screen sharing. 1 sec. Let me see if now it works. Okay, it's not gonna work, but what I'm gonna do is I will post the link here and I will explain you because it's the same thing. So I have pasted the link in the chat. That's the dashboard that we use for the for gamification, and the idea is that you collect points for different things. So first of all, you collect 20 points for the submission of a visualization for one project. You collect 10 points if you are selected by the charity for the presentation. And then we have 2 extra awards. One is given by the board of Wish for Social Good, where you get 5 extra points. And another award is the People Choice Award. And that one is the volunteers voting. So for this project, the voting is now open in the Slack channel. And the way to vote is selecting the Wish for Social Good icon in your favorite wishes. So we have posted all the visualizations, and you can click on the icon for your favorite ones. We also give 10 points for attending events after submissions, and 20 more points if you organize an event yourself to create a working group, for example, for one of the projects. And then with this, you will be able to access the dashboard. We update it a while after every project, and you will be able to see the ranking, who is participating, which projects are happening around the world, who are the volunteers, and a lot of information. And we also have now an option to download a certificate of participation, so you can download the certificate for your participation on a specific project. I think that's it about gamifications. If you have any questions, you can always ask in Slack. We are available to answer any questions. And please vote for this project until tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night, European time. Make the calculation. I am based in Luxembourg. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Aida. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your time and effort once again. And we have our UNDP project, the current project that is running. So if you want to contribute, feel free to go ahead and participate in the visualization, and the live event would be on October 30th, and the last submission date would be October 23rd. So thank you once again. If you all can turn on your camera, we can just take a quick photo and then we can call her up.
Nice to see the faces of the people. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Just 1 minute. One more. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Happy weekend. Bye. Thanks.
Have a lovely
Thank you,
weekend.
too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.